Was it safe to say this is the biggest win of your career?
Yeah, definitely. Go out there and beat a former world champion. It has to be the biggest win of my career so far.
Do you think you want a top 5 guy next?
Give me a top 5 guy. Give me on New York. I'm ready to go again.
Oh, you ready to go to Brooklyn?
I'm ready to go to Brooklyn. That'll be a dream come true for me.
Did you think that you were going to win the fight before they announced the scorecards?
I was pretty confident I had it. When he did take me down in the first and third round, he wasn't very active at all. He was just kind of looking to hold position. I was the more active guy. I mean, other than the big takedown, he didn't do much with it. Even in the third round, I was able to stuff 2 of his takedowns. He was successful with one of them. And on that takedown, just try to hold and control the position. I was able to make space, be offensive on bottom, and almost cut him in 2 triangle chokes throughout that fight. So I feel like I was the winner at the end of that fight for sure.
Were they close? Were the triangles close?
The first round was close for sure. Just the third round, he started to slip out of it, which is why I switched to elbows, hoping that he'll start defending the elbow and put himself back in the danger.
It seemed like you may have stolen the fight in the third round in the last like 20 or so seconds. Were you telling yourself, okay, I have to do something with the elbows off your back? It seemed like that may have sealed the deal for you.
My coach told me before the fight, whatever you do, just don't stop working that fight, and that's what stayed in my mind. I mean, whether I lost a takedown, whether I was fighting defended takedown, whether I was fighting for strikes, it was just not stop fighting, and that's exactly what I did in that fight. I went for a triangle. I was fighting to finish it. He was starting to get out. I was trying to finish it with elbows. So whatever opportunity I had to work, I just kept working.
Is it disheartening to do that and then to hear boos after you just fought for 50 minutes and were actually the aggressor in the fight?
No, not at all. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm healthy. I know the fans wanted to see more of that fight. I did the best I could. That was the outcome of it. I got a pretty good bonus for taking this fight too. So at the end of the day, all I can do is go back to the gym, train hard, get better, and move on to the next one.
Did you learn anything about yourself tonight?
Yeah, definitely. I'm one resilient guy, for lack of better words. I mean, I just don't have that quit in me, and it felt good to go out there and get a W, especially after my last loss.
What confidence does this give you? I know that you're not lacking confidence, but I want to give you the fact that you got a former world champion, you know his resume. That
gives me a lot of confidence coming out the fight, winning the way I did. I mean, a lot of guys were fearing things like my reach and range and things like that with striking. So to go out there and put a guy who's a Division I national champ in a lot of danger on the ground, I feel like that gave the whole welterweight division something else to worry about when it comes to fighting me.
You mentioned a bonus, but beforehand you had said that you weren't going to take the fight if he was overweight. What happened and what switched? What made you decide that, all right, I'm going to go ahead and take this fight?
I just like fighting. I mean, I said it one way, but it came down to it was like, hey, you didn't make weight. I was like, well, I'm going to fight anyway, so let's keep it going. I was hoping 1% that he would make weight, just so I wouldn't have to hear like, oh, well, you fought a guy who didn't make weight. He was broken before the fight came. So I wanted to fight the best version of Johnny Hendricks. Even though he missed weight, I feel like he came out here wanting to win, and he gave everything he had tonight. So I feel pretty confident with that. Why I didn't want to take the fight had he not made weight, because I didn't want to have all the excuse that comes with that, saying that I beat a former champ who's on the downward side of his career. I beat a former champ who quit in the sauna, things like that. So that's kind of why the whole, oh, if it doesn't make weight, I won't fight thing. I think that's where it was coming from.
So is it a little extra special that, you know, even though he did still not make weight, that you still decided to go out there and do it and to do like you did?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, to his credit, the sauna we were kind of weight and kind of sucked. I mean, I was 2.5 pounds overweight, 2.5 pounds overweight that day, and I went in there. It took me almost an hour to get that first pound off because the sauna was just not hot enough. It just wasn't working well enough to cut weight. And he was in there before I was, and the entire time I was in there, he was in there as well, cutting weight. So being able to physically see him cut weight within a foot of me the entire time, it kind of showed me how hard he was working, how much he actually wanted it. It wasn't just a guy who was on the verge of quitting.
How awkward was that?
It wasn't awkward at all. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all professionals. I mean, he's in there doing the same thing I'm doing, trying to get the same thing I'm trying to get. We both want our hands raised. We both want to keep going and provide for our families. So it wasn't very awkward at all for me at all.
Did you have an idea at that point, though, that he was having a hard time cutting weight?
No, not at all. I mean, he probably thought the same thing about me. I mean, I literally spent almost 2 hours in that sauna trying to get 2.5 pounds off. So he was probably sitting there thinking like, oh, yeah, he's having a hard time too. So I don't think it played one factor over the other at all.
Do you feel like that at some point that maybe he should have waited because he went in a half hour before the cutoff was, or do you feel like at a certain point your fighters know when their body is done cutting that there is no way?
I have no idea. I mean, I can only speak for myself. I mean, this is my 15th fight in UFC at 170, and so for me, well, it would have been the 19th county Ultimate Fighter. So for me, making weight is something that's pretty easy. It comes pretty natural for me. So I mean, he's a professional. Whatever he needs to do to make weight at this point, I feel like he should know and he should be able to do it. Whether it was the cutoff time, whether it was just him having a Christmas dinner, whatever it may be, that was on him to make weight, not me.
What was your immediate reaction to it? Were you angry at all?
No, I mean, when you get a bonus for a guy missing weight, you can't really be much. You can't really be angry. I mean, the fight's on, I get a bonus. I mean, I can't be angry at that at all.
What you expected? I mean, before the fight, you talked about you didn't watch his previous work. You looked at him from the GSP fight, the Lawler fight. So that what you saw in the octagon tonight, or you saw something different?
Yeah, that was a guy who came out there wanting to win. The fact that he went back to his roots and used his wrestling, that was a guy who wanted to win. He didn't go out there just looking to just like go through the motions of it and just barely make it to that fight. He came out there wanting to win. He put everything he had in his takedowns, and he was 100% confident that he'd be able to just control the fight and win that way. So I don't want to take anything away from him. He did a great job trying to do it. I was just able to be a better man tonight using my jiu-jitsu on the ground.
You mentioned earlier you wanted to face the best Johnny Hendricks. Do you believe that's the best Johnny Hendricks? Is that the UFC champion Johnny Hendricks?
That's the guy. That's the clean version of Johnny Hendricks. I mean, that's the guy that went back to he said in many interviews, go back to the wrestling room, get back to his roots. I feel like that's what he did for leading up to his fight. He went back to the wrestling room. He was grinding it in day out with guys who were in the wrestling room trying to get ready for this fight. So I feel like that was the best version of Johnny Hendricks they could have given me tonight.
You say clean, what do you mean clean?
I mean clean, just like a guy who's, I mean, we both had to go through testing, we both had to go through all that stuff, so at the end of the day, we were both two clean athletes out there just grinding out to see who wanted it more and who had better skill tonight.
Neil, is there anybody in particular that you want next?
Top 5 guy, I'm ready for it. I know I mentioned Brooklyn, if we have to wait a week or 2 or a month, whatever it may be, to get a top 5 guy, I'll do that, but I'm ready to fight the top.
How long was you willing to wait since you want to get back in the cage?
Was that?
How long are you willing to wait since you're ready to get back in the cage?
The least amount of time as possible, but I'll try to keep myself sane waiting for it. I'm just eager to get back in there.
Did you think that when he was championing that he wasn't clean?
I mean, who knows, man? There's a lot of talk about what guys look like before and after. I don't want to start making accusations about the guy, but it is what it is. I don't want to make accusations and say he's this, he's that. At the end of the day, we were both two clean athletes that went out there and just fought our hearts out.
Did you watch any of his interviews this week? His behavior was a little erratic, to say the least, and did you think that that maybe was a sign that this was a guy who was hurting himself going in? You know, he was cutting a lot, he was dehydrated. It just didn't seem like the normal.
I mean, who knows? I mean, I had a little hookup this week as well. I mean, there was a point where my teammate mentioned, like, hey, let's go out to dinner at this place. And literally 2 minutes later, I was like, hey, what's the name of that restaurant? And made other dinner reservations where he just told me, like, hey, we're going to this particular restaurant. So as I was cutting weight, I just completely just blew off what he said to me, didn't acknowledge it at all, and just went ahead and started making other plans. So I don't know how hard his weight cut was. I just know weight cutting takes a toll on some of the athletes sometimes, and it affects different people different ways.
And he mentioned that earlier today, he mentioned this will be his last fight at 170. Do you think that's the smart call for him at this point?
Yeah, definitely. I think that'll be the smart call for him. I mean, it just takes so much out of him to try to make 170. I feel like he'll have a lot more longevity in this sport, and his body will be a lot healthier at 185 or a different weight class.
Do you feel like you can finally put the Lorenz-Larkin fight to bed now? Like, did you need this victory to move on from that?
For sure. I mean, this fight definitely stung a little bit longer than my last loss. I mean, the last time I lost the fight, I was able to get back in the octagon 2 weeks later and go out there and prove myself. This fight, I had to wait almost 4 months to get out there and do it. So I feel like this is exactly what I needed to get on track and get focused for 2017.